There's a very specific moment you probably know better than you wish you did. You pick up your phone just to check the time, but before you put it back down, you've already opened a message app. Not because someone texted you, not because you were waiting for anything urgent. You opened it because you just did, because your finger moved before the thought, because something in your body needed to check. You close it, you glance at your email. Close that too. You open social media for 3 seconds, close it. Then you check your messages again. Maybe something came in during those 40 seconds. Nothing did, but you checked anyway. And there's a feeling when you do this. A feeling that's hard to name because it isn't quite anxiety yet. It's more like a state, a background state, a low vibration that's always there. It gets a little quieter when you check and a little louder when you stop. You barely notice it anymore because it's normal now, because your body learned to live like this. That's what this is about. Not the habit of checking your phone, not productivity, not focus. What's underneath it? What your body is trying to do when it makes your hand grab your phone before you've decided anything at all. Stay with me. This will take a little time. And I need you to let it. Because when you rush this kind of understanding, the same thing happens as when you check your phone. You try to solve quickly something that cannot be solved quickly. You want the answer before you've actually lived inside the question. So breathe just once at the pace your body asks for and stay here. I want you to meet Mary. Mary is 29. She's a project coordinator at a communications agency, the kind of job that never really ends. There's always another request, another deadline pressing in, someone waiting for an answer. She's good at what she does. Efficient, reliable. People trust her. Her boss trusts her. Her co-workers trust her. And in a strange way, that weighs on her. Mary wakes up at 6:40 in the morning, before she gets out of bed, before the bathroom, before water, before anything. She grabs her phone and checks her messages. Not because something urgent arrived at 6:40 a.m., but her body doesn't know that. Her body has been in checking mode since before her eyes opened. There's tension in her shoulders that was already there when she woke up. A slight tightness in her jaw, so old she doesn't notice it anymore. It just feels like her face. She scrolls. Messages. Nothing urgent. Email. 3 new ones. Nothing that needs an answer now. Social media. She doesn't even know why she opened it. She closes the phone, puts it down, gets up, and there's something important here. Because after checking everything and finding nothing urgent, you'd expect relief. You'd expect her body to soften, her shoulders to drop a little, but that's not what happens. Her shoulders stay exactly where they were. Her jaw holds the same quiet tension. That background vibration, still there. Checking didn't turn anything off. Mary goes to the bathroom, brushes her teeth, and her mind is already moving through the day ahead. Not in an organized way, not like planning, more like threads being pulled at the same time from inside her chest. Each one pulling towards something that needs to be done, checked, solved, confirmed. She hasn't even had coffee yet. Her body is already working. She goes to the kitchen, puts water on to boil, and while she waits, she picks up her phone again. She didn't decide to. Her hand just moved, and she notices a fraction of a second too late. She's already looking at her messages again, 20 minutes after the last time. The same messages, waiting for something different to appear. Nothing does. She closes the phone, and this time there's a small sting, hard to name, somewhere between embarrassment and irritation with herself. Why did I just do that again? But the water starts boiling. The moment passes, and she's already moving into the next thing. Mary's day moves to a rhythm she never consciously chose. It's not the rhythm of work, it's the rhythm of checking. Every 40 minutes, sometimes less, there's a kind of pull, an internal signal that doesn't use words. It just moves her hand toward the phone, toward her email, toward the Slack tab she already looked at a few minutes ago. And here's what really matters. That pull gets stronger when she's in the middle of something important, when she's writing a report that needs focus, when she's trying to think through a creative solution, when she's inside a quiet, productive stretch. That's exactly when it shows up, as if silence itself were the trigger, as if deep concentration wakes something up, and checking is what comes to shut it down. Mary doesn't think about about it this way. To her, it's just distraction. She criticizes herself for it, sometimes harshly. I need more focus. I need discipline. Why can't I just work? But that self-criticism, the thing she thinks will help, points completely in the wrong direction, because this isn't about focus. It isn't about discipline. It's about what silence wakes up inside her body. At 3 in the afternoon on a Tuesday, Mary is on a video call with 2 co-workers. It's a calm meeting, nothing tense. They're talking about a project that's going well, and right in the middle of the call, camera on, everyone looking at each other, she feels it. Not a thought, a sensation, a light pressure that starts in her chest and slowly rises. Not pain, nothing she could clearly describe if someone asked. But her body changes. Her breathing gets a little shallow. Her fingers reach for the phone lying face down on the table. She turned it face down on purpose at the start of the meeting so she wouldn't check. And now her fingers are resting on it. They haven't flipped it over, but they're there. A co-worker asks her a question. She answers well. But while she's speaking, half of her is in the meeting, and the other half is inside that pressure in her chest that has no clear explanation. The meeting ends. Everyone signs off. Mary closes her laptop, and the very first thing she does, before standing up, before stretching her back that's been stiff for hours, is pick up her phone and check her messages. There's a text from a friend, just a meme, nothing urgent, nothing that changes anything, and still, her body loosens by a millimeter. Just a millimeter, just for a second, before tightening again. I want to pause here, because what just happened to Mary, that tiny release after checking, that's the key to everything we're exploring. When you check and find something, your body relaxes a little. When you check and find nothing urgent, your body also relaxes a little. Because it's not the content your body is looking for, it's the act, the movement of scanning, the gesture of checking, the action of confirming that the environment is being monitored. That movement, by itself, relieves the tension for a moment, not because anything real got solved, but because the part of you that's on alert gets a signal. Someone is watching. Someone is keeping track. That someone is you, checking, always checking. And if any of this feels familiar, the impulse, the hand moving before the thought, the brief release after you look, I want you to notice where that shows up in your body right now. As you listen, you don't have to fix it, just notice. Sometimes recognition alone is already the beginning. When Mary was a child, around 7, maybe 8, there was a very specific kind of silence in her house that came before arguments. It wasn't like normal quiet. It was heavy. Her mother would go quiet in a different way. Her father would come home and not say hello in a different way. The air in the house would change before a single word was spoken. And Mary learned to read that silence, not as a skill she chose to develop, as a necessity. Her body shifted into constant monitoring, scanning the environment for signals, a facial expression, a tone of voice, the way a door closed. She checked, not a phone. She was too young for that, but she checked faces, checked the sounds of the house, checked whether everything was still within a level of safety her body could tolerate. And when her reading of the room said, okay, it's safe for now, her body would loosen by a millimeter, just a millimeter, for a moment, before tightening again. Mary doesn't remember this clearly. She doesn't have neat, organized memories from that time, but her body remembers. Her body carries that learning as if it were anatomy, as if that monitoring posture became part of her physical structure, and her body brought that strategy into every environment that came after, into classrooms, where she learned to read a teacher's mood before raising her hand, into friendships, where she watched the tone of messages for signs that something had shifted, into relationships, where she reread conversations for hours, trying to decode what lived beneath the words, and now into work, into her phone, into Slack, into the email tab she refreshes before she even knows why. The environment is completely different, but her body is using the same strategy it learned when she was 7 years old, in a house where silence had to be monitored. This is the thing about the body most people were never taught to understand. The body doesn't live in the present. the way the mind thinks it does. The body lives in layers. And the deepest layer, the one that reacts before thought, the one that moves your hand to the phone before you decide anything, that layer is responding to a much older map than your current life. That map was drawn when it was necessary, when it made sense, when a child needed a way to stay safe in an unpredictable environment, and the body learned. The body is extraordinarily good at learning whatever it needs to survive. The problem is, the body doesn't get the memo when the situation changes. Mary is no longer in a house where silence must be monitored, but her body still monitors, still checks, still uses the same ancient gesture of scanning the environment for danger. And the phone, with its notifications, messages, and little red dots of urgency, has become the perfect mirror for that need. An environment that might always hold something, that might always be shifting, that always feels like it needs to be checked. Not because there's something urgent there. Adapt this as a final voiceover script, not as a written article. Because checking is what her body learned to do when tension rises, when the silence feels too heavy, when being still, present, focused, starts to wake up a kind of discomfort her body recognizes as danger. Have you ever noticed this in yourself? You don't have to answer now. But if, at any point while you were listening, you felt a flicker of recognition, not in your thoughts, in your body, a slight tightening, a quiet sense of, that's me, just hold that, not as a diagnosis, as information, because the body that monitors, the body that checks, the body that uses scanning to regulate its tension, that body isn't wrong. That body is doing exactly what it learned to do with the tools it had at the time it needed them. And this understanding, this way of looking at what your body does without judgment, that's the beginning of something, not the solution, the beginning. Mary's next day actually begins before it begins. That's the part she can't explain to anyone. The exhaustion she feels on Monday morning didn't start Monday morning. It started Sunday night, when her body noticed the weekend was ending, when the quiet of Sunday slowly turned into a different kind of quiet, the kind that already contains Monday inside it. She was lying on the couch, a show playing, nothing wrong happening, and then it came. Not a specific thought, not a worry she could name and fix. It was more like the air in the apartment shifted. A small contraction starting somewhere below her ribs, rising slowly, without urgency, without asking permission. Her chest felt a little fuller, her breath got a little shorter. Her shoulders lifted 2 millimeters, just 2, and stayed there. She picked up her phone, checked her work email, Sunday night. Checking work email on a Sunday night with no real reason, no urgency, no crisis waiting. There were 3 emails. None urgent. One was a newsletter. One was an automated system message. The third was from a co-worker, long, dense, about a project starting next week. Mary read the whole email. Sunday night. The show paused. She read every word, and then she replied. Not because she needed to reply now, but because her body needed to do something with the energy that was rising. It needed a gesture, an action, a way to tell her internal system, I'm watching, you can relax. The system didn't relax. She hit send, put the phone down, tried to return to the show, but the show had changed, or rather, she had. Part of her was already in Monday, already inside that email, already in Thursday's meeting, already mentally scanning the list of things that need to be done, checking if she forgot something, confirming she's prepared for a week that hasn't even started. Her body had already moved into Monday, and Sunday, the couch, the rest, the show felt hollow, like an empty shell. She was physically there, and mentally somewhere that didn't even exist yet. There's a name for this in the body. Not a technical name, not a diagnosis, more like a physical description you might recognize. It's the feeling of always being slightly ahead of the moment you're in, like your body arrives too early to whatever comes next. Like the present is never a place you land, only a place you pass through. You eat while thinking about what comes after the meal. You rest while thinking about what you'll do when rest ends. You fall asleep with tomorrow's list running quietly in the background like an app that never fully closes. And when someone asks, "How are you?" you say, "I'm fine," because you are. Nothing is technically wrong, But there's this state, this constant vibration, this body that never fully arrives where it already is. Mary knows this state so well she stopped noticing it. It became the background, the baseline, just the way life feels. And when something becomes the background, it becomes the hardest thing to see. That Wednesday, Mary had a lighter afternoon. No meetings. Her main project was paused while the client reviewed materials. She had 3 open hours, the kind of time that should feel like a gift. She opened a blank document to start organizing ideas for a future project, creative work, the kind she actually enjoys. She stared at the blank page for 4 minutes. Then she picked up her phone, checked messages, checked email, opened social media, scrolled for 2 minutes without seeing anything, closed it, back to the document, typed half a line, deleted it, opened a new browser tab, searched something completely unrelated. An actress from a movie she watched that weekend, the movie's title, reviews, other films by the same director. 20 minutes passed. She closed everything, returned to the document, stared again. And then that familiar sensation came, not exactly anxiety, not exactly creative block, more like an internal resistance, as if moving toward the blank page, toward the creative silence. The openness, the not knowing yet, woke something in her body that needed to be interrupted, as if emptiness itself felt dangerous, as if not having a clear task, not having a defined problem, not having an alarm going off, was a kind of situation her body doesn't know how to sit inside safely. So it does what it learned to do. It checks, distracts, move. It looks for something, anything, that creates the feeling that something is happening, that the environment is being monitored, that no one will be caught off guard. Mary ended the afternoon having written almost nothing. She went home with that familiar sting, the quiet shame of having wasted a good afternoon, of not using free time productively. She doesn't know yet that the problem wasn't laziness, wasn't lack of discipline, wasn't lack of creativity. It was the alarm. The alarm. I need to talk about what this alarm is in a way that makes sense in the body, not just in the mind. Imagine a home security system. It was installed at a time when there was a real reason for it to exist, a time when the house truly needed protection. The system learned which patterns meant danger, certain sounds, certain movements, certain kinds of silence, and it learned to go off when those patterns appeared. The system worked. The house stayed safe. But now the house has changed. The neighborhood has changed. The threat that once existed is no longer there in the same way. And the security system, programmed in a different time with a different map of danger, is still operating by the same rule. It goes off when it doesn't need to. It detects danger in situations that are actually safe. It keeps the house in a constant state of alert because that's what it learned to do. Not because it's malicious, not because it's broken, because it's doing exactly what it was taught to do. Mary's alarm goes off when there's silence, when there's openness, when there's space without a task, without urgency, without a defined problem to solve. Because silence, in the house where she grew up, was the state that came right before danger. Her body learned silence equals something bad is coming. So the alarm says, do something. Check, move, make sure you won't be caught off guard. And checking answers the alarm for a moment, until the alarm goes off again. It's a cycle that feeds itself, not because Mary is naturally anxious, not because there's something wrong with her, but because a very intelligent system is using a very old map. There's something the alarm does that's especially hard to notice. It doesn't just react to the outside world, it reacts to internal states. When Mary begins to truly relax, not the surface level relaxation of being on the couch with her phone, but a deeper kind, the kind where the body starts to loosen its grip, the alarm fires, because letting go of control to this system feels dangerous. Control, keeping everything monitored, everything checked, everything within view, equals safety. It's the state where nothing bad can arrive unexpectedly. It's the state a child learned to hold to survive in an unpredictable environment. And relaxation is the opposite of that. So when Mary's body starts to sink into the mattress, when her breathing opens, when her mind begins to slow and soften, the alarm reads this as vulnerability, as exposure, as the kind of state where you could be caught unprepared, so it fires. A subtle tension returns to her chest. Her shoulders lift an inch. Her mind starts scanning, not with clear thoughts, but with a diffuse sweep, running through things she needs to do, situations she needs to monitor, conversations she needs to keep track of, and sleep, which had been coming, pulls back. Mary turns to the other side, picks up her phone, checks one last time, and then lies there, eyes closed, staring into the dark, with the alarm system still running, waiting for rest that her own body isn't allowing to arrive. Do you recognize yourself in any of this? It doesn't have to look exactly the same. Maybe for you, it isn't a phone. Maybe it's needing the TV on, so silence doesn't feel too heavy. Maybe it's the need to always have something to do, something to plan, something that justifies the alertness your body holds. Maybe you notice it in the moments when everything is fine, and yet there's that background tension that never fully leaves, that feeling that truly resting would be irresponsible, that fully relaxing would mean risking being caught off guard. If that feels familiar, that's the alarm. And the alarm is not your enemy. It never was. The alarm is the oldest part of you that still believes it needs to protect you, the part still operating with the map from when that kind of protection was truly necessary. Hold on to that, because in the next part, we're going to go deeper into the name of this shadow, what it's really trying to keep you from feeling, and what happens when you try to fight it. The shadow has a name. Not a complicated name, not a technical term you have to learn, a simple human name, the kind your body recognizes before your mind even catches up. Its name is the Watcher. The Watcher is the part of Mary that never fully sleeps, the part that keeps one eye open even when her body is exhausted, the part that reads rest as carelessness, silence as danger, and peace as something that has to be earned, or really conquered, before it can be allowed. She didn't appear out of nowhere. She was built slowly, brick by brick, Sunday by Sunday, in a house where silence had the texture of danger. She was the intelligent answer of a child who needed a way to stay safe in an environment that wasn't predictable. The Watcher learned, if I check, I prepare. If I prepare, I won't be caught off guard. And if I'm not caught off guard, I'm safe. That logic worked. So it settled into Mary's body as an absolute truth. And now, decades later, the Watcher is still operating, still monitoring, still moving her hand to the phone before she's even decided anything. When a shadow has a name, it loses some of its power. Not all at once, not in some dramatic shift, but something changes when you can see the shadow as a part of you, not the whole of you. When you can say, oh, it's you. I know who you are. I know where you came from. What the Watcher is trying to avoid is actually very simple. She's trying to avoid the feeling of not knowing. Not intellectual not knowing, like not knowing an answer on a test. A deeper kind, a more visceral kind. Not knowing if you're safe. Not knowing if something bad is about to happen. Not knowing if the world around you might suddenly shift in a way you can't handle. For a child growing up in an unpredictable environment, that kind of not knowing felt like real danger. So the Watcher made a silent deal. I'll handle this. I'll stay awake. I'll monitor everything. You don't have to feel that uncertainty, because I'll make sure you always know what's happening. And Mary, without words for this, without even realizing it, accepted the deal. But the deal has a cost. The cost is peace, not in some dramatic way, in a slow, everyday, almost invisible way. The Watcher doesn't let Mary rest, because rest is exactly the state where uncertainty could appear. She doesn't allow silence, because silence feels like that old, dangerous silence. She interrupts deep focus, because deep focus means you stop scanning the environment. So Mary checks, always checks, because checking is the payment that keeps the deal in place, and the deal never ends, because the Watcher has no all-clear setting. There's no moment when she looks around and says, everything's checked. You can relax now, because the danger she monitors isn't specific. It isn't concrete. It isn't solvable. It's a quality of the world, a texture of reality she learned to distrust. And that texture is everywhere, so she works everywhere. Now I need to show you the trap, because there's something most people do once they start noticing this pattern. The checking, the brief relief, the tension returning, the checking again. Once they realize they're stuck in a loop, they decide to fight the alarm. They decide to stop checking. They put their phone in another room, block apps, Create strict rules. I won't check email before 9 a.m. I won't open messages at lunch. I'll focus for 2-hour blocks. And for a few days, sometimes it works. But then something unexpected happens. The tension increases. It doesn't go down, it rises. Because what these strategies say, without meaning to, is this: what you're feeling is wrong. Your impulse is wrong. You shouldn't feel this. And the alarm system, built to respond to threats, reads that message as another threat. Now, there are two dangers. The outside world it's already monitoring, and the attempt to shut it down. To the system, that feels like losing protection, like lowering your guard, like becoming exposed. So the alarm fires louder, and Mary, trying to have more focus, more presence, more peace, ends up more tense than she was before. She feels like she's failing. She criticizes herself more. And that self-criticism, another internal threat, feeds the alarm system that was already overwhelmed. Fighting the alarm is the trap, not because change is impossible, but because this system doesn't change through confrontation. It changes through something completely different, something that goes in the opposite direction of what logic suggests. There's someone I want you to meet. She isn't a perfect version of Mary. She isn't the ideal opposite of the Watcher. She's just a real person who learned to relate to the alarm differently. Her name is Clara. Clara still checks her phone sometimes, without knowing why. She still has days when the background tension is high. She still lies awake sometimes with her mind circling. The difference isn't perfection. The difference is a very small gesture she learned to make when the alarm fires. She pauses for 3 seconds, just 3, not to meditate, not to breathe in a special way, not to do anything impressive. She pauses, places one hand, just one, on her chest or her stomach. And internally, without fancy words, she says, "I know, I feel you. You can stay here for a moment." She doesn't fight the alarm, doesn't try to shut it off, doesn't criticize herself. She simply recognizes it, and that tiny, almost invisible act does something no app blocker ever can. It tells the alarm system, "You don't have to scream louder to be heard. I already hear you. I'm here." Clara still checks her phone sometimes, but now she can notice, oh, the alarm is high right now. What just happened in my body? And that question, what just happened in my body, changes everything. Not instantly, not completely, but deeply. Here's something I want to leave you with. Think of a recent moment, today or yesterday, when you did something on autopilot to reduce a tension you barely noticed. Maybe you checked your phone, turned on the TV, ate without being hungry. Any small movement your body made before you consciously chose it. Don't judge it. Just remember it. And if you can, after remembering, place a hand on your chest and say quietly inside, "I know the alarm was high then. It makes sense that it was." That alone is already the beginning of what comes next. The training. I'm not calling it a practice, not a routine. Those words already trigger performance mode, the sense that you must do it right, do it well, do it enough. I call it training because training implies imperfect repetition. It implies you'll miss days, you'll forget, you'll get it wrong. And that's not failure, that's the process. This training has 3 movements, only 3. The first is lowering the volume, not turning off the alarm, not fighting it, just when you notice it firing, doing what Clara does. Pause. 3 seconds, hand on your body, a simple inner sentence, "I hear you." It doesn't sound like much, it doesn't feel like enough, but small steps are what change everything. Because repeated over days and weeks, this gesture teaches the alarm system. You don't have to shout to be recognized. Someone is already listening, and alarm systems that feel heard fire less often. The second movement is mapping the body. Once a day, morning or night, it doesn't matter. Ask your body one simple question. Where are you tense right now? Not a long scan, not meditation, just 30 seconds of noticing. Jaw, shoulders, chest, stomach. You don't need to fix it, just name it. Oh, today it's in my left shoulder. Interesting. This creates a body vocabulary, and body vocabulary lets you notice the alarm while it's happening, not only afterward, once autopilot has already taken over. The third movement is acting like Clara, not becoming Clara, just choosing once a day, a moment when the alarm is high and doing what she would do, not checking immediately, staying with the discomfort for 2 minutes. Not as punishment, not to prove anything, but as a signal to the system, we can survive 2 minutes without checking. We are safe. 2 minutes, that's all. And over time, not in 2 days, not in a week, the system begins to learn. Silence isn't dangerous the way it once was. Not knowing for 2 minutes doesn't lead to chaos. Openness can be lived inside without the world collapsing. Now I want you to do something concrete. Take a piece of paper or open your notes app and write 3 sentences in your own words. When I feel, describe what happens in your body when the alarm fires. Tight chest, raised shoulders, short breath. I recognize that the alarm is high. This sensation started to make sense when write an old memory, even a vague one, when this alertness once protected you. Today, I can stay here for 2 minutes without checking, just 2. This isn't therapy. It isn't journaling. It's simply a gesture of recognition, a way for your body to see in clear, concrete language that you know it's there. And sometimes that alone already begins to change something. Mary, in this exact moment, doesn't know the name of the vigilant yet, but last night, for the first time in a long time, she noticed her hand moving toward the phone before she had decided anything, and instead of checking, she placed the phone back on the table. She stayed with the discomfort for 1 minute and 40 seconds. She counted. The world didn't collapse. The tension didn't disappear, but it stayed, and she stayed with it, and she survived it. 1 minute and 40 seconds. That's how it begins. This channel exists for that. Not to give you ready-made answers, not to tell you who you should be, but to sit here with you in that space between the body and awareness and point gently to what is already inside you, what is already trying to be seen, already trying to be heard, already trying to tell you something before the mind has words for it. The shadow has a name, and when it has a name, it loses power. The vigilant was essential. She is what brought you this far, and she can rest now, not be eliminated, not be defeated, just rest a little, because you grew. Because today, you have something you didn't have before, the ability to recognize the alarm before obeying it. If this video somehow found you, if there was a moment when your body recognized something before your mind understood, you don't need to do anything with that right now, just carry it. Just let it settle. And if you want to share in the comments where you feel the alarm in your body, I'll be here reading, not as an obligation, as an invitation. Because sometimes putting into words what the body feels is already a small moment of the vigilant beginning to trust that once in a while she can lower her guard.